energy, which the design was to effect that wave of energy which you have already mentioned that was coming down, and to fracture it in such a way as it would hold up or slow down the process of ascension for humanity. I'd been on Avalon, and I can't remember who it was now, who had found a Mayan or an Aztec guy whose name I can't pronounce correctly, but something like Akhtar, who was banging on about the CERN generator, and somebody on Avalon had said, "Simon, have you seen this? Because this guy's saying what you've said." And I thought, my goodness, this is amazing. And he was what we would call the backstop. He was going out all around South America, where the hidden pyramids under the jungles or buried under the earth, and planting sacred objects. And what he said that he'd been told was that the CERN device was going to come on, darling. The CERN device was going to have very negative impact on South America in particular, but would hold up humans' ascension. Now, he didn't know it, and I didn't know it, and that's why it's very important that one left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing. But he was the backstop. If the CERN device had worked, everything would have fallen on him. But as it happened, the CERN device did not work. Therefore, we didn't have to face that issue. We didn't require him, but what he did was right. What they'll do, they'll say they're looking for boson-Higgs particles, they're looking for dark energy. They'll blind people with science and give them references to something that NASA has put out on the internet at some point in the past. That there are many institutes who are funded to look for these particles. And it sounds very convincing. The question I say to people is, hang on a minute, this is built by a consortium, right? There are no shareholders. Who money mad in this world would invest millions of pounds if there was nothing back for them? Business people don't do that. No. They don't give money if there's no return. So they're not going to give millions of pounds for something to find a boson-Higgs particle, which some chap's going to get a Nobel Award for, but they're not going to get any hard cash. And the reality was that the United States of America put pressure on all of its allies to raid their black budgets to pay for the CERN device. So it's run by America. It didn't work. It didn't work when it needed it to work, which is good.
But have they given up on it?
No, they haven't. After the terrible earthquake for Japan, which brought Japan to its knees, people don't realise that Japan was a net exporter prior to the terrible disaster. It's now a net importer. That's how they've been turned upside down. And they have accepted the fact that the next collider will be built in Japan. It's not going to be, the question was whether to build a linear collider or a circular collider, because they'll do different things. But the Japanese have agreed that the next collider will be built in Japan. And the thinking there is, well, look, if we build a collider, we won't have another earthquake, will we?
Wow.
So that's the next, so that is what they're building. The question and the Japanese have shown a bit of muscle and said they're not going to pay for all of it. So they're debating now how much, but the work will soon be started. Yes. Oh, right, okay. We mentioned this a little earlier, I did mention it earlier, the three generals who were removed.
Yes.
People need to understand that when in America, which is the important one, it doesn't matter who wins, whether they're Republican or Democrat, they are both controlled, except for Kennedy. They are controlled. Well, after Kennedy, that's the rule. In Britain, it's somewhat different. Individuals can actually raise to power that are not the backer of some. Perhaps talk about that later. But Obama was placed in because he had certain things he promised to do. One of them was the healthcare bill. He promised to get that through, and he won the second election. And the sad thing was that when he came to office, everyone said he is going to be the one who will announce UFOs. Well, they were partly right, because what they picked up on was that he was so involved with that side of it that he was going to have the agenda, but it wasn't the agenda of disclosure, it was the agenda of forcing things through at a way that had never happened since the days of Bush. So can you just go back to the film? I don't want to go off target too much. What was the gist of it? Because I could go on for ages on that and I don't want to.
Many people are in fact in direct assistance.
Yeah, so right, in the last 30 years there's probably been about 5 or 6 attempts to do something really, really horrendous. If you go back a few years to Israel, the Israeli Prime Minister ordered an attack without anyone else's knowledge on Iran, and he had a Chief of Staff, the Air Force General and the Infantry General all refused a direct order from a legally elected Prime Minister to attack Iran. The 3 refused because they said it would cause a world war. This is what I meant by things are happening, and the thing with Hillary Clinton, where Clinton was being sent to not talk to the president, I beg your pardon, I'm going to get it right now, the spiritual leader of Iran. The spiritual leader of Iran is not controlled by the Illuminati, but the Prime Minister or President, I think it's a President, I get confused, he is a member of the Illuminati. And so Hillary Clinton was flown in specifically to have a meeting with him without the knowledge of the Imam, without the spiritual leader knowing. And when the aeroplane arrived at Tehran airfield, the leader of the bodyguards, it's always a SEAL team, the bodyguards are not CIA or NSA, the bodyguards are always SEAL, Navy SEAL teams. The lead bodyguard, the commander of the bodyguard, shot Clinton with a handgun. Didn't obviously kill her, shot her. He then attempted to shoot his way into the cabin and to try to shoot the